Welcome to an all-new episode of the No Rules Podcast. I'm Aaron Hilton, as always, joined by my main man, Malik Smith. Malik, what's poppin', man?
What up? How you feeling, brother, man?
I'm in Mansion and Benzes, as always, brother. I say you still ain't got rid of that ugly-ass Yankees hat from the 1930s and shit. You still rocking that?
Yeah, you know, it's just the championship hat. Rocking it all season. All season.
I mean, it's great. You going to be watching the Red Sox win the World Series in that same hat? Is that what we doing?
Yeah, you know, maybe in 50 years, you know what I'm saying? If the hat survives, yeah, maybe.
And
Not this year,
50
though.
years, we probably will still have more championships than you in our lifetime. You know what I mean? Because that's what really matters.
Overall, you're never catching us, right?
Not the titles you won when it was like 3 major league teams and like black people couldn't vote and shit like that. We talking about post Jackie Robinson era, really post our birth. So like from 1990s on, you know what I'm saying? That's what we're really counting. Because how many did you win in your lifetime? That's what we're at.
I would pick all the ones that my team was irrelevant. I would exclude that too if I was in that situation. Unfortunately, I don't have to think about that because my team's been relevant basically since the game started. So either or, whichever works for you.
I mean, well, that's what works for me is that the Yankees fucking suck.
It's ignoring the 23 other championships that we won.
I mean, it just doesn't count. It just does. It's like the Celtics fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. You have 18 championships. That's great. You won 13 in a row because, like, as soon as you made the postseason, you were basically in the NBA Finals. You know what I mean? There was no like great championship run where you had to beat like 3 Eastern Conference teams. It was like beat one team and then you in the finals.
The
that shit don't count. You won 2
Bill
series.
Russell erasure from you. Shame. He's rolling over in his grave right now.
No, God rest the dead, man. I love everybody black, but and I root for everybody black. But the Celtics championship, fuck them. Fuck the Celtics. The Celtics don't root for nothing black. You know what I mean? Boston fans.
I can't cape for the Celtics. I only cape for Bill Russell. That's it.
Hey man, it's controversial enough that I'm even a Red Sox fan. You know what I'm saying? So it's
I feel you.
It's not an easy life to have lived. But it is what it is. I'm just glad that in modern history has proven me right because we got four rings and y'all have 1. Anyways, so looking ahead, we're recording this on a Thursday, so 2 days before the Final Four gets going in San Antonio. Malik, who do you have winning these Final Four matchups on Saturday and then going on to win the national championship?
So my bracket pick was Auburn winning the championship. I gotta check my own bracket.
You literally had to remember 2 teams, and you only remember 50%. Right? This is crazy, bro. Dad brain.
This is how much I just said. Brain. You know what? Whatever. No. Because see, I thought that I picked the wrong a team that didn't make it, and I did. I picked Alabama, who went out sad.
Damn, who'd they lose to?
I mean, listen, you're victory lapping someone who like has no emotional attachment to any team.
I was just asking a question. I wanted to educate the people.
Oh, I'm sure everyone knows it. We all watched the game. Which, by the way, y'all were trying to give that game away.
Is that what we did when we won by 20? We tried to give it away?
Yeah, let's not look at the final score and pretend that y'all wasn't trying to give it away. Now, I will say this. Y'all was locking down my man.
I think the referees had a lot to do with that game. Not to revisit the past because, Alabama, I was saying all leading into that game, I'm glad that we got Alabama.
Yeah.
For any of my friends that know me through text threads and things like that, Mark Sears and I have had a vendetta against each other all year. That has a lot to do with gambling. He has no idea who I am. So, I'm sure he's a wonderful young man. This is all said in jest, but he's cost me a lot of money this year. When I bet for him, he has bad games. When I bet against him, he has good games. So I reverse jinxed him, and it worked. I bet for him to hit 3 threes. I bet for him to score over 21 points, and he did neither of those things. And I don't feel bad about it at all. I did what I had to do to win that. Now, I also didn't believe in those bets when I made them regardless, but I felt like if I bet against it, this would be the game where he goes, 7 for 8 from 3-point line, and, Alabama's actually in the game late. But this one, as it stood, Duke took care of business.
They did. They locked them up. I was impressed with the defense. They played a good game, and they're in Final Four. Congratulations. I legitimately congratulations. I'm not a Duke hater. A lot of people really hate Duke.
Most people are, so it's big of you.
I'm pretty indifferent. So, we'll see. We're gonna see. We're gonna talk more about your star play in a little bit, but I'm sticking with Auburn. I love what what they showed, even when my man, the Dominicans' own Johnny. How do you pronounce the
Janai.
boy?
It's Janai.
Janai. It looks like
Janai, bro.
Johnny. I'm not going for.
It
It looks like
does.
Johnny.
Like for the first couple of games, because I had never heard of him before
Yeah.
this season. And he's a guy that transferred from a smaller school before. This is his second year, I think, at Auburn, but he had transferred from a smaller school a couple of years ago, and he's been a really good player all year. But it is Janai.
He was hooping. He was hooping.
Yes.
He was hooping, and he bro. The hyper. I've never seen someone hyperextend their knee and their elbow at the same time. It looked really rough.
It was at State Farm Arena, so I was working that game actually. Going into the tournament, him and Auburn had not been playing very good basketball. They lost to I think it was Florida in the SEC tournament. Janai had not been having very good games. I think he had more than 15 points like once over his last like 4 or 5 regular season games. And for a guy that's been basically the consensus player of the year for most of the season, it was a rough way to end the season, but he's turned it back on. The lights come back on in the postseason, and with him playing the way he's playing, and Tahad Pettiford, their freshman point guard that kind of comes off the bench in like a Vinny Microwave Johnson type role, I think for them, or Jamal Crawford, I guess, for the more recent people that might not know what I'm talking about for Vinny Microwave Johnson, but he's like a Lou Will, Jamal Crawford type of come off the bench and get you a bucket, handle the rock. Really athletic kid. But yeah, I like your Auburn pick. I think they do really have a chance. They do.
I like the defense. I like I think they have the talent. And credit to him, the injury looked pretty bad.
We thought he broke it at first, honestly. Like everybody in the control room all thought he broke it.
And he came back like Willis Reed, like, you know what I'm saying? I was when he came back onto the floor, I'm like, whoa, like maybe just sit this out. Like you guys, had a decent lead against Michigan State. But yeah, I've got Auburn. Who you got? I mean, I feel like I know who you got, but who you got?
Now it's honestly it's not a homer pick. Now before the season, I believed that Duke was going to get to the Final Four. I did not have them winning the national championship. I wanted to see like if they're as talented as they are. If Cooper Flagg is who he says he is, they should make the Final Four. That's what I said. They did that. So now they're playing with house money in my eyes. But from what I have seen throughout the season, I said the two best teams going into the tournament were Florida and Duke. I made a bunch of different picks in my brackets and all that kind of stuff. Some were right, some were wrong. But at the end of the day, I always try and get my NCAA championship picks right, and it's still intact. Florida versus Duke is what I had coming in. They're the two favorites coming into this weekend's Final Four to meet each other in the final game on Monday. I do believe that that's how it's going to play out. I currently, when I picked the bracket, had Duke winning. But what I will say is if Duke decides to play with their food, Walter Clayton Jr. going to have something to say because Walter Clayton is a better player than Duke has played all year. All year. I've been so impressed by that kid and what he's been able to do, and I would not be shocked at all if they are able to get past Auburn. Don't want to just, poo-poo, the Tigers and everything and what they've accomplished. But if Florida's able to make it to that final and Duke is able to get past an experienced Houston team, it's not just a runaway win. That they're in for a dogfight.
Yeah, I mean, Florida looks unbelievable. They've looked unbelievable for the last 2 weeks. So I'm not super confident in my Auburn pick. I'm sticking with it because I don't want to be a waffler. But I could easily see Florida going off. I would imagine that CBS college basketball they want Duke.
They want Duke Florida.
I mean, and granted, it's not like Houston hasn't been a great team, hasn't been in the Final Four a bunch over the past few years. But obviously, Duke is if people turn on the TV and they see Duke, they're probably gonna keep the TV on compared to whatever else is going on.
Well, you got fan bases, and then you got style of play as well.
Yeah.
If Houston makes it, it's kind of like that early 2000 Spurs. You remember that championship, the Spurs versus Pistons, and when nobody really watched. That's kind of like what you're getting when you get Houston there, because it's for basketball nerds and people who are really purists of the game and watching good teams that play on both sides. And they're actually a top 10 efficiency in offense too. I think it's the first time that all 4 Final Four teams are top 10 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. So Houston is a good offensive team, very good. They're like a 40% 3-point shooting team. I don't want to make it seem like they don't, but they play that ball control offense. They do not shoot the ball early in the shot clock. It's like that old school UVA type of style. You know what I mean? They'll use the clock, get a good pass up good shots for great shots, and then they have experienced players who've been to the Final Four before. LJ Cryer, their leader, won a championship with Scott Drew and Baylor a few years ago. He's going to attempt to be the first NCAA player to win a national championship with two different teams, which is an impressive accomplishment all on its own. But yeah, they're just it's a ball control type of offense, and anybody that wants ratings does not want that in the final. So I'm sure CBS wants to see Duke, Florida, because they are still the two best teams beyond just the styles of play.
Can I say this too? I would say the NBA probably wants Duke.
Getting a chance to see more play, because all due respect to Houston, is not a lot of NBA players on that team. If you get to see Duke versus Florida, there's probably about 4 to 5 first-round picks, 3 lottery picks in that game, most obviously coming from the Duke side. But you've got at least 5 or 6 legitimate NBA rotation players coming out of that game if they do get to play it. So,
not to mention the guy who's probably going to go number 1. I mean,
you don't need to see any more tape on Cooper Flagg. Yeah, barring an ACL injury, you don't really need to see anything else from Cooper Flagg. So I don't think scouts really need to see that game, but it would be nice if he could add that feather to his cap of winning a national championship. And to that end, actually kind of smoothly gets us to this next topic that we wanted to talk about. If Duke does win the national championship this year, does that vault Cooper Flagg into best college basketball freshman of all time conversation? Does that put him in the conversation? Where does that place him in that conversation? And would he be number 1 in your eyes?
In the conversation? Sure. But I don't think he's anywhere close to number 1. Like, I don't think he's topping Melo. I actually made a list.
Okay.
And I mean, the 3 people I had on my list are people that you also, I would imagine, have on your list as well.
Mm-hmm.
Carmelo Anthony. I mean, shout out to him.
Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying?
Once a Knick, always a Knick. You know what I mean?
All right. That's okay. Move along.
Hey, don't hate. Anthony Davis. Heard of him?
Okay.
And Derrick Rose, right? Like, those are guys who, like, off the top of my head, like, I'm like, okay, those are guys who I saw, and it's just like, okay, I mean, I can't look at Cooper Flagg and think that he's better than those guys. Zion, to me, is still better, even if they win the like, I just think Zion was like a more dominant player. I don't think people give Zion enough credit for how good he was defensively in college. It hasn't officially translated to the NBA. He also hasn't played enough games in the NBA, but like, whatever. We're just talking college career, freshman going into the pros. Now, here's the other thing I will say.
Okay.
This is technically not fair because these 2 guys weren't freshmen, but the only reason that they didn't play as freshmen is because John Wooden didn't play freshman.
Lou Alcindor, yeah.
Yeah, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton. Like, these dudes.
It was Lou Alcindor at that time.
Their first seasons playing at UCLA, I think they both were Player of the Year. They both won national championship. Like, they were just completely freaking dominant. Like, it wasn't
Bill Walton, one of the great college basketball players of all time, and probably one of the great NBA. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but would have been one of the great NBA players of all time, if not, the injury history that he had once he went to Portland. Was just
even with the injuries, still great.
Yeah, honestly, won 6th Man of the Year in a championship with Boston, won a championship with the Blazers. I mean, he won an MVP with the Blazers too. I mean, he is a great basketball player.
R.I.P.
God rest the dead. Yeah, for me, it's a list of 1. I could give you a list of 4 or 5 different names. It really doesn't matter. He's not better than Carmelo. He could score 50 in the national championship game, and that's great. You're not better than Carmelo. And this is coming from a Duke fan. I'm a Duke fan. He has made a believer out of me coming into the season. I was more on Ace Bailey as a potential number 1 pick over him. Now maybe part of that was me overcorrecting, trying not to be a homer, but like I just like the things that I was hearing about Ace Bailey more than the hype that I heard from Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
But he's lived up to and exceeded, honestly, in my eyes, that hype. He has been everything and more than what they said that he was going to be. And I've seen him get better throughout the season, which is not something that you see a lot from these highly touted freshmen. Is like normally they just either live up to expectations or they fall short of them. But he not only lived up to the expectations early, but he improved his game so much. Like the guy that played against that Auburn team early in the season, even though we won that game, the guy that lost in that Champions Classic game to Kentucky in an early season loss to I think it was Kansas as well. Like that is not the same guy that you're getting right now. He's more aggressive. He's got more swag. He's a better shooter. He's a better handler of the ball, and he knows his limitations better, trusts his teammates a little bit more. So for his age, I will say, because he came into the season at 17, I think that is the most impressive part. He didn't turn 18 until December. That's incredible. Most freshmen nowadays have been in high school for 5 years, so they come in at 19, turning 20, and they're just called freshmen, or they're redshirt a year and stuff, and then they're 19, 20, and had a full year in a college weightlifting program. Flagg comes straight out of high school, 17 years old, reclassified, and just dominated from jump. At a big program like Duke. So shout out to him. But no, it's Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, I think too. Like it's easy to forget these things, but like we were, in high school when this was happening. Like when Melo came into the league, and probably I would say for the first like 2 to 3 years, people were
the
like,
NBA owes
he's
him
better
a
than
debt.
LeBron James.
He's the NBA. I'm on that mountain, and I'll die on that mountain. He was rookie of the year that year.
He's better than LeBron James?
No. I think he was rookie of the year that year. I will like. There is no other way around it. Like, shout out, they both put up ridiculously good numbers. It's not like there was no argument for LeBron. Melo made the playoffs. Melo had comparable numbers, more rebounds per game, similar on the points per game. He was a better shooter. And being that he played with so many veterans on his team, Kenyon Martin, all those guys, he just had more responsibility than a LeBron who just came in and.
I don't know if I'm gonna go that far, but go ahead.
For a playoff team, like when you're LeBron James, he took really over that team. Yeah, but like it was, you came onto a team with another number 1 overall pick in Kenyon Martin, who was leaving the Nets and coming over to that team. I think it was Chauncey Billups was the point guard on that team or something like that. It was like Carmelo Anthony came in and immediately had an impact on the Denver Nuggets team. That obviously they had the number 3 or 4 overall pick. They weren't that good the year before, and they made the playoffs in the West, which back then the West just dominated the East and everything. And he brought them into the playoffs. So like, for as great as LeBron was, and he was great, I think their performances throughout that year was equal. And the only unqualifier there would be, okay, Carmelo made the playoffs, LeBron didn't. And for my money, that has some value.
Listen, it was the reasonable people can disagree, but it was a debate at the time, which I don't think people realize. Like, that's how good Melo was coming out. Like, if he went number 1 overall, people wouldn't have been like, they passed up on LeBron. You know what I mean? They'd be like, oh, well, he did. This guy just won a national championship. Of course he goes number 1 overall, right? Like, it was still, I remember that still being a debate, whether like who should go first and who was better and all of that.
When the Pistons took Darko.
Jesus.
Second. I remember watching it, being like, I think I said, what the fuck? Like, at the time. I'm a Sixers fan. So it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't even remember who the Sixers took in that draft. But
was it? No, I was going to say Iggy.
No, Lou Will was the next year. He was 04, and that was, we didn't have a first round pick. He was a second round pick. Shout out Lou Will. But no, I remember like, what the fuck? Like, and that was still, we were still early on the Euros. Like, it was still like, these Euro guys coming in, like, whatever, they haven't played college ball. Yeah, I mean, it was just like, okay, he's a Euro, like, I get it, he's a veteran, great. Carmelo just dragged the Syracuse team to a national championship. He just cemented the legacy of like one of the best college basketball coaches of all time, because without Carmelo, Jim Boeheim doesn't have a national championship.
To that point, I mean, he could have won one at some point, but yeah, I hear you.
He didn't though. Like, that's the point, and he didn't since. So like, that's another part of it, is like, Jim Boeheim could have ended up being like the Charles Barkley of college basketball coaches. And Carmelo comes in 1 year, they win the national championship, he leaves. And then, I get it, LeBron should have been number 1, local team, cool. Carmelo should have gone number 2. At the time, in the future, all of that, it was ridiculous that he even made it to number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad it played out the way that it did. Because I feel like Melo on Detroit would have been weird. But either way, like, Melo, to me, I agree. Like, to me, Melo is like the gold standard for what you would want as a college freshman. And I will say, I mean, I said Anthony Davis too. Had a great all-around game, obviously, great defender. D Rose, I think sometimes we forget like how good D Rose was that
Unreal,
first year.
Bro.
Like,
if you could make a free throw, this is a different conversation.
Seriously.
If you could make a free throw.
Bro, unbelievable.
Him and Chris Douglas Roberts.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah. Just, I mean, man.
Do you remember when we watched the national championship game in Harkness?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And
I was like, it was so crazy to see, because you're like watching. One of my pet peeves is point guards missing free throws.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically point guards, because you are the one with the ball in your hand at the end of the game. You need to be at least an 80% free throw shooter. You need to make your free throws late. If you can't, you should not be able to be out there on the court.
Yeah.
It was so crazy to watch how that game unfolded. Like Mario Chalmers,
bro, I was just about
nuts of steel, bro. Like nuts of steel. God. That transition 3 was crazy work.
Nuts.
Like that was man.
I just remember. I don't remember who. I cannot remember his name, but there was a dude on the basketball team who was from Alaska, and every time Chalmers hit a big shot, he just kept shouting out Chalmers because he's also from Alaska. And I was like, I didn't even know there were black people. I mean, this is like our first year in college.
The only Alaskan I know is Trajan Langdon, the Alaskan assassin. That Duke had.
I didn't remember meeting anyone from Alaska, so I was like, "Wow, there's black people in Alaska." Shout out to that.
Yeah, right. He's Alaskan. He's like, they don't get a whole lot, so you know what I mean. Like you got to.
If it was me, I would have been way more. I would have been even crazy.
Oh, the people of Maine are never going to let Cooper Flagg go. Like this is, you know what I mean. Like they're never going to live that down. They're just going to be like, "Hey, man, but Cooper Flagg though." Am I right?
I would say all of New England probably.
Not really, like all of New England. Guy, I'll branch out. To even the lower end of Massachusetts and stuff like that. Like when Michael Carter Williams won Rookie of the Year,
he did it for everybody.
Everybody, man. He grew up I say from the crib because he where he grew up, where he played basketball was like maybe 30 minutes from where I played. So I say that's from the crib. Right. I'll let Boston have a people, but some other areas of Massachusetts, I'm claiming you. I don't care what you say.
Respect.
But yeah, no, there are so many good ones to choose from. Derrick Rose, obviously, principal among them. You have a lot of really, really great players that have come through the NCAAs, and Cooper Flagg is definitely among that group. But to put him above Carmelo would just be disrespectful to one of the best basketball players of all time. So it's not a slight to say that he is not part of that number one conversation for me, no matter what he does. That's just me. If someone else wants to put him there at number one, I'm not gonna argue with you. Because that's like a generational thing. Like you just wasn't outside. Carmelo Anthony was really that. He was him. And there's just no anybody that got to see. I'm not talking about like watching ESPN classics, watch that shit live. This is a get off my lawn moment for me, and I don't really care. You know what I mean? You had to be there live. Just like the same thing with, this is another Syracuse thing, but that Big East tournament game, the 7 overtime game with Johnny Flynn, you know what I'm saying? Like, you had to be there. This game just kept going and going and going. And this guy, Johnny Flynn, played every single minute of that game. It was just incredible to watch. But it's Carmelo Anthony, and then everybody else just falls in line underneath him.
I would say this, man, for Flagg, great all around game. I think if we're talking about like the offense, defense, all of it, that maybe boosts him up in the conversation if they win the national championship. I mean, regardless, he made it to the Final Four. I'm not gonna knock him for not winning it if they don't win it and be like, that discounts you. Unbelievable all around game. But just to be in the conversation, I think is a testament.
I mean, among Duke freshmen ever, he's right there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's right there.
Absolutely. Right next to Cam Reddish.
That felt like a shot. All right. Felt like a shot. All right. Okay. But no, I mean, it's like, him and Christian Laettner, among freshmen that accomplished something, that achieved something at Duke. Yeah. Christian Laettner made the Final Four every single year that he was at Duke, which, is an achievement in and of itself that the likes of which you just might never see again. And he did so as like a principal player. He wasn't like one of those like a freshman 6th man off the bench. He was like, he was the star from the moment he stepped on that campus. And his teams made the Final Four every year. He won 2 national championships. He's one of the best college basketball players of all time, regardless of what you feel about his NBA career. But yeah, speaking of college sports, transitioning off of basketball here. So Kentucky in a baseball game, like they have some weird rule where on Getaway Day, which for people who don't know, Getaway Day is basically you play an early game for baseball because that's the travel day. So you play an afternoon game so that you can travel in the early evening and be in the new city, not like on the red-eye flight or whatever it is. It's basically to kind of help you travel. And major league teams do it, softball teams do it, everybody does it. That's just, in baseball, it's called Getaway Day. So they have a Getaway Day rule locally where you cannot start an inning after 4:30 in the afternoon. Kentucky, knowing this rule, obviously playing a home game against Texas A&M, they're up 10-5 in the 8th inning. in the top of the 8th inning, I should say. And they just start milking the clock. Now, I want to ask you, do you think that's a cheap move, a Bush League move from Kentucky, or were they just playing the cards that were dealt?
Nothing gets me more excited than ranting about sports that I have very little emotional investment in, because I could just really go off, and I have some really strong feelings about this.
Yeah.
No, this is not cheating. The rules are the rules. But man, if this isn't the softest thing I've ever seen in my life. Come on, dog. Like, first of all, you're up 10-5.
Yeah.
So play the rest of the game. If you lose, you lose. But like the pitcher, he's standing there. He's like, he's milking the clock,
checking his watch,
tying his shoe. Like, he's like, wait a minute, hold on, my neck. You know, it's like, come on, dude. Now, then I think what really put it over the top is they wanted to call someone to the mound. It's
they called the mound visit.
4:29.
Right, right at 4:29, that called the mound visit. That's what set the coach into a flying rage.
So naturally, the manager for Texas A&M, they're down 5 runs, right? Like they're trying to rally, and he's like, "Yo, come on!" Like that. I just think it's corny, and like it makes it seem like you thought you might lose the game if this went any further. So you're just like, okay, we're just going to try to, I don't want to say steal the win, but like you don't want to play the whole game. Rules are the rules. It's not cheating, but it was corny. It was I will take no defense of this. So I hope you're on the same side as I am, because we're going to be arguing about this for years. There is no defense of this. This is corny. Yeah. If you do this, you're lame.
Among everything that you said, I will argue it in segments. So first of all, it's not cheating. Let's start there. We both agree.
I said it wasn't cheating. I agree.
That's what I said. That's what we both agree means. I'm not attacking you. Okay, we both agreed on that.
I'm already hot.
Relax, Malik. breathe. No, so it's definitely not cheating. So we do agree there. Soft. Yeah, we can call it a little soft. I mean, we'll agree to disagree on the soft part, but like I got no problem with people calling it soft. Lame, sure, lame, but again, it's strategy. There's a lot of lame shit that goes on in baseball, okay? Pitchers being mad that a guy is admiring his home run, which might happen 20 to 30 times a year for even the good players.
Mm-hmm.
You should be allowed to admire. I get 30 of these in 500 to 600 at-bats. If I'm a good player, I get 30 of these, right? For your Aaron Judge, it's 60. But for all normal human beings who were born on planet Earth, it's 20 to 30. Yeah. I'm going to fucking watch it, okay? And if you want to hit me with a rock-hard projectile at 95 miles an hour because I admired my work, like, it's not disrespecting you. I'm admiring my work. Fuck you. I hit this baseball, which is still the hardest thing to do in sports. I hit it 400 feet. I'm going to admire it. You don't want me to admire it? Don't throw a fucking hanging changeup over the plate. How about that? So there's a lot of soft, weak-ass shit that happens in baseball, so I don't want to, like, group this with that. This is strategy. Now, Kentucky having this ridiculous-ass rule and choosing to start a baseball game where this rule could impact that game. If you know you have a 4:30 rule, most baseball games are around 3 hours long, no matter which way you cut it. I'm assuming, being that this game was in the 8th inning at 4:28 with 2 outs in the 8th inning, even a 10-5 game, it probably started at like 2 o'clock, maybe 1:30. If you're on a getaway day, you need to start this game at 12 o'clock. If you're going to have this rule, this getaway day rule, this 4:30 thing, which is just ridiculous altogether, the game needs to start at 12 so that reasonably, if you get to that 4:30 time, then it's time to go anyway. We've been playing for 4.5 hours. It's time to go home. You're paid as a head coach, especially of a D1 program, especially of an SEC program. You're paid to win. So if this is going to help you win a individual game, like if they were to do this in the College World Series or whatever and the same rule applied, I'd have no problem with it. This is to win game. Like I'm not in here to make friends. So you can call it soft or whatever you want. I don't like the torpedo bats your Yankees use. But you know what?
Oh my God.
Jazz Chisholm just hit 2 home runs the other day. Okay? Austin Wells hit his first home run off a lefty in his fucking career using a torpedo bat. So you know what? Fuck what you feel about these bats. We're going to use them because it's going to cause a positive impact on us winning games. That's what matters to me. So beyond my normal notion of if you ain't cheating, it ain't trying. It's not cheating. It's you're trying to win the game, and this is going to help us win this game, and also possibly preserve another bullpen arm. We don't have to pitch the ninth inning. That's another benefit for us going into a game that we have to play the next day. So I don't really have as much of a problem with it, but I will say if I was a Texas A&M fan or player or coach or whatever it is, I understand the beef. So like I don't have any problem with them having beef or feeling the way they feel. Me personally, it is what it is.
I noticed two things here. One, you admire my Yankees, I see.
I'm not admiring you Yankees, bro.
You admire
I'm
the
not
early start of
admiring
the
the
Yankees.
Yankees.
Hey, listen.
It's not an admiration.
Hey, it's beautiful. I appreciate that.
Okay.
The other thing I notice is that, like, generally speaking, yes, I hear you. Like, strategy, whatever. Again, you're up 5 runs. If you don't think you can hold a 5-run lead and still get the game over, like, in enough time to travel, to me, that shows that you're afraid of the team that you're playing. And granted,
you should.
Texas A&M is not have a good record. They're 1-7, were 1-7 going into that game in conference. So like they're not a good team. So
what
like,
does that mean?
I don't understand. I don't understand the reasoning behind like, oh well, we want to save a bullpen arm. Like, isn't the point of sports like to play your hardest and to get out of there knowing that you actually put it all on the field?
You probably like that.
Oh, okay.
You probably like that one commercial with that kid who said he knocked it out of bounds.
Don't you do that.
You probably that's exactly what that shit sound like. Shouldn't sports just be about? No, sports is about one fucking thing: winning. Period.
They were already winning. They were already winning.
Yeah, and the game
by
isn't
5
over.
runs.
The game isn't over until you get the last out. There isn't even time on the clock.
Clearly, the game is over at 4:30.
Okay, so do you not like when college basketball teams sit on the clock? Like when Duke calls it thumbs down, or traditionally they call it thumbs down, where they just 4 corners of the basketball floor, and they just hold the rock until 10 seconds left in the shot clock before they make any moves. Like they can have a wide open layup.
That's a totally different thing.
No,
it's a totally
you're
different
sitting
thing.
on the clock. NFL teams, when you're running the ball or kneeling on the ball, like it's the point of competition. If you were to play by like the rules that all of us played, in Madden or whatever, for kids that grew up on Madden, where you don't kneel, you know what I'm saying? You keep running the ball and allow the other team a chance to have the ball at the end of the game. Like, no, your goal is to win the game. So I'm going to run the ball 3 times, leave you with no timeouts and 20 seconds left on the clock. Good luck. That's what it is here. If we have an opportunity to win this game, because the 9th inning won't start if we end this inning after 4:30, then you know what? That's what the fuck we're going to do, because that's the only way we can guarantee victory.
Exactly. So you just made the point. That's the only way you can guarantee victory. So which means you're afraid that you will lose if you go to the 9th inning, even though you're up 5 runs, which to me is that's actually coaching scared. Because guess what? This getaway game stuff, if you actually make it to the conference tournament or even the World Series, College World Series, that to me that's a loser's mentality. So if I'm a fan of the team, I'm like, yo, dude, I get that you're trying to squeeze out wins. But, like, if you're a really good team, you don't need to squeeze out wins. You're like, yo, cool, we'll play the extra inning because we know we're going to win anyway. You're afraid of losing. And if you play to lose...
You're standing on principle. You're playing on principle. Like, this is not a principle thing. You're trying to win the game. It is not soft. It is not a weak-ass move to win a baseball game. Now, if you don't like whatever it is you want to say.
Corny
like, it's not fear. It's not fear in like the negative sense. Every team has a fear of losing games. That's why you do things to put you in a position to win games. That's why if your starting pitcher gives up 3-4 runs in the first inning, he's probably not going to be in the game very long because you're still trying to win that game. So yes, anything can happen in college baseball. A 5-run lead is not safe with these composite bats and the way that these hitters nowadays can hit the baseball. So if I have a way that I can guarantee my team victory going into a road series over the weekend, I'm going to take that. And you know what's going to happen in a couple of weeks when they're vying for a spot in Omaha at the College World Series? No one's going to care. All that's going to matter is it's another tick on the left side of the column.
You know who is going to care? The baseball gods. The baseball gods will judge them. And judge them harshly.
Yeah, well, listen, man. The baseball gods can suck it. How about that?
Well,
the baseball gods can suck it. The traditions of the
Okay.
baseball game and the baseball gods and all that, fuck that. I'm trying to win.
Hey
Period.
man, listen.
Okay? Baseball, like
All I'm
nobody
saying is,
stand on principle like fucking baseball and golf. Those are the two sports where everybody over here standing on like Tiger Woods cheats on his fucking wife. And I hate to go on this rant, but like
whoa,
Tiger Woods,
whoa, whoa.
Tiger Woods cheats on his wife.
Allegedly, several years
Not
ago.
alleged. It was on it was on voicemail. I mean, honestly, the
Yeah, you're
least
right.
amount of couth
Hey,
of all
hey,
time
it's
on that one.
Tiger.
It's Tiger.
Gonna need
Oh
to delete
God.
those.
It was
Delete those
fucking
texts.
crazy. It was that like hearing that audio was nuts. But yeah, so Tiger Woods cheats on his wife, and then all of a sudden he loses like Gatorade endorsements.
Yeah, no, that was
But
stupid. That was dumb.
Gatorade had a whole commercial with Paul George, who like famously cheated on his fiance with the side chick, and then ended up getting the side chick pregnant and all that stuff. So it's like, what is it, Uchiwali or One Mic? You know what I mean? So
Oh,
like
okay.
you have all of this shit going on in one sport where you can accept it, but if it happens in this sport, it's against the rules. Like hockey, they
I
drop the
didn't say
gloves
it
and
was
fight all the
against the
time, but if you
rules.
fight in the NBA, you get suspended 4 games. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where like the baseball. I mean, just again, baseball gods can suck it. Ain't nobody worried about it. Kentucky won the game. If you got a problem, don't be down 10-5. How about that? How about that?
Dude, but here's my thing, and this is the last thing I'll say about it. If you're that confident that you can get the win, then just play it out. And granted, they could have gotten to 430 without them calling the guy to the mound and doing this whole thing. It was 429. I think that was the clear sign that like, hey, we're gonna milk this thing on purpose. Even if we get there regardless, we're gonna milk this thing on purpose just to get.
There's no team that benefits from you moving at a brisk pace other than the team that's losing that game. I am not inclined as the coach of the winning team to give the other team an opportunity to win. I'm not.
I didn't say he was inclined to. I just said it's corny.
People that want to call that corny and that want to tell this coach or these players, hey, you should have given this other team a chance to win. Fuck you. How about that?
I didn't say give them a chance to win. I said just play the game out. You were up 5. You could easily win the game. Clearly, you were beating them. They're not a good team. Just play it out. I don't like the way that it looks when you intentionally say like, okay, we're going to exploit this rule by not based on anything other than just like, okay, well, we just don't feel like playing anymore. So, all right, we'll just stall. We're just going to clearly stall.
Yeah,
like it was like a strong 3 minutes that they're just stalling.
Yeah, but I want to win. I want to win this game. And you know, again, last thing I guess we'll say about it before we go into dad rules is like, I'm just not inclined to put another team in a position to win the game. Now, whether I like the rule or not, whether I agree with the rule or not, it's the rule. And if I have a way of making my life easier and securing my victory, which is my whole job as a competitor and as a head coach, or I guess manager is what you call them in baseball, like that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my team victorious in any way possible. So yeah, I'm going to take advantage of a rule here. Just like what they do in Major League Baseball when you have a pitcher warming up, a pitcher on the mound that's struggling, and you need to buy some extra time, what do? You go mound visits, you start throwing over to first base a couple of times. That's why they've had to implement these rules about throwing over to first base per at-bat, because you're not going to be allowed to just stall. Those are all rules that they use to circumvent the game. Batters calling timeout to throw a pitcher off his rhythm. Those are all rules within the game to make you more likely to win a baseball game. And to that end, I think that the Kentucky coach did what he needed to do for his team to win. It's not going to be lovely. It's not going to be favored by anybody, but I ain't trying to make no friends on that other team. Fuck them. I'm trying to win. I'm happy that you don't like me. Good. You can not like me your whole trip back to College Station. And we'll see you in the SEC tournament if you even make it there. But we won this game. You know, go cry about it. Moving on to our dad rules for the day. And I'd seen a clip on Instagram. I had shared it with some of my friends in DM. I didn't get a chance to share it with you, but that's what spurred this dad rule that I'm putting it out. My dad rule is let your kids figure it out. ... to an extent. Now the guy in the clip said that we coddle our kids too much, which I agree with. But one of his points was, you know, if your kid goes to school and they forget their coat on a cold day, well, guess what? You're not getting that coat. You're gonna have to deal with it. That's why I mean, but to an extent, like there is a limit. I'm not going to give my kid the fucking flu to prove a point. But most other things, like, yeah, you want your kids to figure it out. I want to build problem solvers. I want to build someone that doesn't need to lean on mommy and daddy to get things done. I want her to know she can always come to us, but I don't want her to be solely dependent on us to solve all of her problems, because there's going to become a time when, as an adult, she has to figure it out on her own. And I want her to have those tools. And everybody that has a child should want your children to have those tools.
I think I agree for the most part. Although I will say, you don't want your kids to be dependent, but you do want your kids to be able to rely on you.
Right.
Like, and I think as someone who is not very great at asking for help, probably there's some childhood trauma there. But like,
Yep.
I do
Same.
want my
Yeah.
do want my son to be able to ask for help. Actually, I've said this before. Like, my wife is really good at like saying that she needs people to do stuff and asking for help, like way better than I am. A lot of times I just be like, struggling through it, like trying to pretend like I got it. I'm like, hey, no, it's cool. But like in the back of my mind, I'm like, whew, boy,
Yeah.
this is not
Suffers
going
in
well.
silence. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think there's a line, obviously, but yeah, you know, if your kids are like 26 and like still living in the house with you, and I'm not trying to knock anyone who's, because I would love if that was the case for me.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you kind of
if
did.
your kids have no like ambition because they know that you will, do whatever it is for them that they probably should be doing for themselves. I mean, if that's what you want, cool. But like, they're not gonna stop at 26. I can promise you that they're gonna just keep going. So
Right.
you might want to curb that at like 5, a little bit. Give them a little independence. Which I agree. I think most parents, at least in their minds, probably want to do to some degree. So, I mean, some parents probably don't, but like a lot of parents probably want that independence for their kids. So yeah. Generally, I agree.
Yeah.
But don't
I
leave
mean,
your kids out there with no jacket. That's crazy.
I think it's like for me, it's don't be afraid to like let your kids fail at some things. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to not have like the perfect record or always get the A or always, get that game winning shot or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Like you have to live with life's successes and life's failures, because it's the failures that make the successes, all that more worthwhile. If you're always winning, then winning won't really mean as much to you as, someone that has experienced loss.
Yeah.
And doesn't want to have that feeling or that taste in their mouth anymore. So I want my child, or, if I'm so lucky, children, to have that healthy ambition, to want to learn and discover things on their own. But like you said, to also know that in certain situations, break class in case of emergency, myself or Jasmine, she can lean on one of or both of us to help her reach her desired goals and everything. But I don't want that to be her crutch. I don't want to ever become a crutch for my child and my children. I want them to be able to figure it out, and for us to be a luxury that they don't always need, but they will always have.
I will say this, as I'm sure we both are learning every single day. All of this stuff is easier said than done.
100%.
When they start talking, you be like,
Mm-hmm.
how can I deny them? How can I deny them? But you're right.
Every time.
I think it's more about us as parents realizing that we can't do it for them, and then they'll learn. But like, yeah, it's hard. It's hard because you want them to succeed. You want them to be happy, but again, you want them to learn a lesson. But for them to learn a lesson, they're gonna have to be disappointed. And as a parent, seeing your kid disappointed, it's pretty tough.
Yeah, it
right?
sucks.
So it takes a lot of restraint. It's going to be really, really difficult that first time. She's like, "Dad, can you do this?" And you gotta be like, the devil on the shoulder, like, "Yo, if you do it, she gonna keep asking." He's
right,
like,
so yeah, crossroads. Yeah, so like,
I mean?
when she falls down and stuff, we like to let her get herself back up and things like that, like the small stuff.
Yeah.
Yesterday we went to the park, and it was like literally right when we were about to leave. She's going down one of the bigger slides, and she gets to the end of it and kind of like stumbles and hits the side of her face on the bridge to the slide. So obviously you don't always like to coddle and all that kind of stuff, but that one, it looked like it hurt. So pick her up, and we did go and get some ice cream at Chick-fil-A.
Not you doing instant replay, like, oh,
it was like one of those, like, that one probably hurt. She earned the tears on that one. I'm gonna, but it's also one of those things where like there's just a yin and a yang to it. Like you have to be able to, and there's no perfect science. Sometimes you're going to get it wrong, and it's okay. That's part of parenting. Is like, okay, we stumble and don't get it right every time, but you learn through experience. And for those that have multiple kids and your second kid, hopefully you get less things wrong the first time. It is okay to coddle her every now and again, and things like that. But I know that for the most part, when she falls down, she knows how to get herself back up. I've seen her do it. So I know it also filters out those times when I know when she stays down or when she's really crying or really hurt. She's really hurt now. It's not she's looking for me to pick her up. It's like, no, this one really hurts. I need some support here. And so I was glad I could provide that.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good rule. It's a great rule.
Yeah.
So for my rule, before I get to my rule, I want to shout out my boy, our friend, Nigel.
Oh, Big Plum. What's up, dog?
Who, he got me.
Okay.
He got me fitted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. In there.
I told you you would love the hat that I switched to.
Yeah.
So we officially a part of the Dad Gang. Shout out to
we in there, brother.
For get me with the drip. My rule comes from a very recent experience. We had our first flight over this past weekend with the baby.
Oh man!
Oh my God!
Was it takeoff or descent?
To be honest, it was descent. Well, so the flight we went to Florida. The flight down to Florida. Takeoff, for the most part, he was cool. He was just kind of like, what's going on? He was like licking the screen. Thankfully, we wiped it down before he did. But like, he was just like anxious. He didn't know what was happening. Yeah. Going down, descending as we were going into Florida was pretty tough because he was just like
ears popping.
His ears. I guess his ears were popping. Like he wasn't feeling it. Plus, at that point, he'd been on the flight for 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I think he's just like, get me off of this thing. It's like, I feel you, bro. Same way. But the upside was we had the road to ourselves. Shout out to United. The flight attendant on the plane saw that we had the kid. We didn't get the whole row. And the person who was sitting next to us initially, they were totally cool. She was like, yeah, it's great. Like, I'm going to chill. Like, I'm going to a birthday party, whatever. Like, she was in a good mood. And she didn't mind. And she was like loving Coleman. She was like, oh, he's so cute. Which, that always helps.
Naturally, yeah.
But they were like, hey, we'll just move you guys because the row behind us was empty. So they were like, we'll move you guys. So that was awesome. For some reason, on the flight back, United did not shout out to United because we picked our seats, but for some reason they didn't guarantee our seats. So they put us in two separate rows, one behind the other. Yeah. Now it was right at the front of the plane, right where the exit door, where the door is, right in the exit row. So I had a whole bunch of like leg room, which is nice, but Shannon was behind me with the baby. And the rule here, as I finally get to it, just buy the whole row because people suck. People absolutely suck. If you see terrible. Two parents and for whatever reason they're not sitting next to each other and there's a small baby, maybe just move for them. But that's a lot to ask people.
Common courtesy.
It's a lot to ask people. In fact, when we did ask, someone specifically said, sorry, I paid for this seat, as if the rest of us got our seats for free. Like, dude, I understand you want your extra leg room, but like, you could give it up for 2 hours. But hey, that's on me for thinking that people would be courteous. So just buy the whole row.
Okay, so to be devil's advocate in that situation, as the parents, you're going to have to go with the bad seat. It can't be Shannon moves to your row. Because I do understand that. From his perspective. So the move would be still ask if the other person turns it down. But the first move is let's talk to the regular row person. Because if I paid extra for comfort, there's probably a reason behind why I paid extra for comfort. So I am uniquely sensitive to your plight as parents. If I'm playing devil's advocate for this guy. Yeah. But what I will say is if I paid for a comfort seat or a first class seat or whatever it is, or exit row seat, I'm probably not moving off of that seat. But I will move off of my regular standard seat to make you more comfortable, to accommodate you. So whoever was sitting next to Shane, it should have been the one that you went to first.
Agreed. And that woman was old and had a bad knee, which to me would
extra room, right?
That's what I thought. But she was like, no, I can't. She just couldn't get up. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Fine. If she was old and she just had knee surgery. So I'm like, fine. But here's the other issue. I was sitting next to two men. She was sitting next to two older women. So even if I moved, if she had to nurse him to like keep him calm, then it's awkward because like, you're sitting next to two random dudes who kind of look like they would be very much staring at a nursing mom. So it was an awkward situation. But like I said, either way, I didn't even want the seat that I was sitting in. I would have moved like perfectly fine with moving. But buy the whole row because people are not going to give you, people suck and they're not going to give you that.
Yeah, Ari had the same issue with the descent. The takeoff was always fine. We took her to the DR and everything for Tay's wedding.
I can't even imagine.
Takeoff was fine.
That's a long flight.
I mean, takeoff was cool. She was cool throughout the duration of the flight. Loved everything. Loved the snacks on the flight. Shout out Southwest. But yeah, it was the descent every time. We tried all the tricks. They say, oh, okay, breastfeed on the way down, or give them a bottle, or give them something to chew on, something to suckle on, whatever it is. It'll help the ear. None of that. Didn't work.
She wasn't having it.
She would not have. Yeah, none of it. And I'm talking about like screaming like we were trying to extract her teeth with a wrench. You know what I'm saying? Like it was. Yeah. She doesn't, and she just doesn't cry like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's the thing.
She does
my
not.
My son doesn't cry. Like, I mean, he cries, but like not to the degree that he was. And it was like clearly this is like, only because we're going down. Now, granted, the flight back where we didn't get to change our seats, he slept the whole time. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Win-win. Loss.
Hey, it worked out.
It definitely worked.
Maybe Coleman in that short amount of time figured out, hey, people do suck. Let me take this easy on my parents.
Yeah.
Let's go to sleep.
I appreciate
if I go to sleep, then maybe it won't be as bad. And turns out he was right.
And my dad won't have to turn up on this white guy here.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he won't have to get put on the no-fly list.
Yeah, exactly. Bro, in my head, I was just like, am I going to have to smack a bitch?
I mean, if it was Spirit Airlines, I feel like I would have got... Yeah, like, it's Spirit Airlines, it would have got taken up a notch, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go out like that, So I was like, I'm going to leave it alone. But I noticed that he never made eye contact with me whatsoever. Like, never looked my way. He was like, I think I'm good. So it is what it is.
He knew he was wrong. Yeah. But yeah, man, that's a great dad rule. It is definitely do what you can to accommodate yourself. Make sure you buy the whole row, or at the very, very least, ensure that you have adjoining seats and double confirm at the gate before you get on the plane, because that is where problems that exist can be resolved. Once people have sat down in their seats or done this, that, and the third, it's very hard for people to come up off of it. So if you're traveling, especially for the first time with a young kid, definitely do everything that you can to make sure that you accommodate yourself and your child. So I like that. I like those rules, man. It's a lot of lessons to take from this episode, but I would just say that the number one lesson I think everybody should take from this episode is, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. You know what I'm saying? So
I think that's
shout out.
You were going with it.
Shout out to it's about to be 3:20. There's no
on the East Coast,
rule. Yeah, on the East Coast, there's no specific rule in Georgia about 3:20 and podcasts going past 3:20. But I would like to wrap it up before then, so I can go pick up my progeny from school. But yeah, we appreciate everybody as always for rocking with us here on the No Rules podcast. We love all of y'all, and we appreciate the support.
Peace y'all.